Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Folks, I really appreciate all of you coming out today during lunchtime and to participate in this forum. And this forum is indeed for you. It's about you. It's for you. It's about all of us. We know that we have had a long history, almost since the world began, of people with disabilities being excluded, with them throwing us out on the ice, with them leaving us in the wilderness, with them just outright abandoning us. And we know that we have been working diligently for a long time. And you've got several pioneers right out here in the audience with you. And this is going to be, hoping, a really nice discussion on where we have been, but more importantly, where we want to go and how we want to get there, and a time for us to share. Because I dare say, even though many of us know each other, there are some of us who do not know each other, and there are some of us who don't know the types of things that have been going on. So what I want to do is, I have a long history, many of you know it, over 40 years of actively trying to make this world a more inclusive, accessible place since 1968. But I am not alone, so thank you for the applause, but I am not alone. And I ain't done yet either, as they say, you know? I ain't done yet, so I got a few more years left in me. One more year. Tom, would you come up and introduce yourself, please? I am with Silo, the Center for Independent Living Options. I am happy to say that I helped to start that organization 30-something years ago. And now I'm working for it part-time.
I'm Tom Eamoe. Excuse me, I'm Tom Eamoe, and I've got a cracker on my throat. Okay.
Too close to the microphone.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Eamoe, Executive Director with the ARC, and really glad to be here with you and see all of you today. This little talk we're going to have, this conversation, is really an outgrowth of a process that's been going on with Robert and I for a period of about 4 or 5 months now. Robert and I have both been involved in disability advocacy for a long time, and as he was talking about how long he's been involved, I was looking around this room and just trying to imagine if we were to total up the number of years of disability advocacy experience that's gone on amongst the people in this room here today. I think it'd be a pretty astonishing number, because we have an awful lot of folks here who I recognize. And as we've gotten to know each other a little bit, we've become good friends. We started doing some work together, doing some training regarding public policy advocacy, and I got to be on a couple of Robert's radio programs and television programs about some of the programs and services of the ARC and some of the issues we're engaged in advocacy surrounding. And as we did that, we started talking a lot about the experiences we had in common and about what we have noticed as we've gone through this process of being involved in this arena of advocacy on behalf of people with disabilities for a long while. And essentially we said, you know, we're together working on this because we're involved with a whole community that's organized around what people can't do. I mean, the reality is the common bond that many of us in this room have is what people can't do. I mean, we talk about disability advocacy and disability programs and disability services. And the reality is, what that means is we're identifying people based upon their inability to do things, as opposed to what they can do, what they have to give us, what their assets are, what their gifts are. And the question I think that we need to address, and I think it's really seminal to the topic that we want to have this conversation about today, is how do we change ourselves, how do we change our community so that what we emphasize is what people can do and what people have to give us. Because there's really nothing we can do with what folks can't do. If you can't do it, then you can't do it. The reality is now we have a system that's based upon making a great deal of resources available to you if you can't do things. And the more things you can't do, the more resources we'll give you. I mean, they have a tool now that they use in the developmental disabilities arena that goes through and analyzes how many things you can't do. And based upon your score on that tool, of how many things you can't do. The more things you can't do, you get more money assigned to you over the next year. As opposed to finding a way for us to build community around what people can do and what they have to share with each other. Now, I'm not certainly proposing that we would want to do away with formalized services and supports. Obviously, folks need those, and there are people who have different sets of abilities than other people have, and they do need some assistance then to negotiate a world that's been organized around the way most of us are, as opposed to the way relatively fewer of us are. So, those are valuable things, but the reality is that when we've done that, as we've created that system, we've also created a